The second principle is the observing self. Now, here we have to understand that there are two parts to us. One is the thinking self, and the other is the observing self. Now, the thinking self is what we call our mind. It is responsible for thinking, planning, visualizing, and judging, compares, and so on, right? And the observing self is responsible for our awareness, observation, focus, and it does not think. Here's an example to illustrate between the two. For example, you're playing tennis, okay? And the ball is flying at you, you are focusing on the ball, and your full attention is on the ball flying to you and where it's flying, right? That's the observing self. However, when thoughts starts to creep in, like, well, this ball is coming too fast, it's like, I better hit this ball, if not I'll lose the game. That is your thinking self. And when these thoughts starts to creep in, you may be affected by it, and your performance will be affected too, right? So our thinking self is like a non-stop radio. It keeps broadcasting various kinds of thoughts and stories to us frequently. And in reality, if we have a radio in our house or what, we can actually switch it off if we don't like it, right? But the radio in our head is very different. We can't just switch it off if we want to, and it decides when it wants to turn it on and when it wants to turn it off, okay? So we have far less control over this radio in our head, and a lot of solutions in the marketplace is telling us how to turn it off. This is what the author refers to as control strategies, and if you remember what I shared earlier, these solutions may become part of the problem itself, and that is where we fall back into the happiness trap. Therefore, whenever we find ourselves caught in this thinking self and the thoughts or stories it's telling us is not helpful to us, we make use of our observing self to acknowledge it. Thank you for coming into our mind. Now, I'm going to redirect this attention and energy to the current task that we are doing. An effective way is to focus on slow and deep breathing. And when you are doing that, focus on the rise and fall of your chest, your lungs, the expansion and contraction, and the air that is going into your nose and the air that's flowing out of your mouth. Okay, the shoulders movement, your bodies. Notice all that when you are doing the slow, deep breathing. That is one of the ways we can actually sidestep this thinking self and use our observing self to full advantage. Now, here's an interesting analogy in the book that I want to share with you. Imagine that you are out at sea on a ship. Okay, you're the only one on board, and then there are demons, a lot of demons with sharp claws and teeth beneath the deck. They made an agreement with you, saying that if you stay adrift on the sea, we're not going to do anything to you. But if you start to steer towards the shore, then they're going to come at you and threaten to kill you. Of course, you don't like that, right? You're fearful then and you stay drifted. But as time goes on, you feel that it's beginning to be meaningless, bored, and you see people going to the shore one by one. And that's where you really want to be. So one day, you pluck up your courage and you steer towards the shore. And true enough, the demons starts to come out, baring their fangs at you, threatening to kill you. The thing is this. The interesting thing is this. Even though they say that what they do is scare you and threaten to kill you, they're never actually going to harm you physically, because they can't. Okay, if you believe that what they say is true, then they will have control of the ship. However, if you don't, then you are free. You can bring wherever you want to bring the ship to, as long as you're willing to accept that the demons will always be around. These demons are our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations, memories, and urges. And they will keep showing up again and again and again whenever we bring our life in a valid direction. Why? It all goes back to evolution, okay, where the minds of our ancestors are always constantly on the lookout for real and imminent dangers in order to survive. The warnings of real dangers have become negative thoughts through time. For example, what makes you think you can do it? You may get rejected. Okay, what makes you think you're good enough? And so on. The third principle is expansion, and it simply means making room to accommodate our feelings and emotions. Now, whenever we feel tense up, stress, pressure, and so on, the things that we do is usually we try to suppress them or get rid of them, right? Now, this takes a lot of effort. What expansion does is the opposite. It just creates more space to accommodate these tensions and pressure rather than suppressing or getting rid of them. I remember that when I was still in school and studying on this topic, physics, right? There's this formula, pressure equals to force over area. And I remember one smart guy in the class was saying, oh, now I know why we eat when we are under pressure. Now, this is a very interesting perspective if you look at the formula, okay? Because to reduce the pressure with the same kind of force, you're going to increase your area, right? And so by eating, we grow fat and increase the area, right? So the pressure will be reduced. Now that's a very interesting perspective I see from there. But this is very applicable to third principle, right? Okay, expansion. And expansion allows us to use the least energy to make room or accommodate this uncomfortable feelings or emotions that we are experiencing. So, how do we practice expansion? There are 4 steps to it. The first step is to observe our feelings and emotions with our observing self. We do that by scanning through our body and see if there's any part that has a uncomfortable sensation to it, and we focus on that part. When we use our observing self, we are seeing the emotion as it is and not giving any meaning to it. And no doubt that our thinking self may come up again and again to interrupt this, to say that, oh, this to give meaning to it. But just acknowledge it and then go back to focus on that emotion as it is. Treat them just like any vehicles that pass through your house, right? You know that they are passing through, but you don't have to pay attention to each and every one that goes through or pass through, right? Second, breathe into and around the area of discomfort with slow, deep breaths. Now when you breathe out, empty your lungs. Slow and deep breathing can aid in lowering the tensions in our bodies. And remember, it won't get rid of your feelings. However, it does provide a center of calm within you. Third, As you breathe into and around this uncomfortable sensation, imagine that you are somehow creating extra space within your body to accommodate these feelings. And 4, allow that sensation to be there, even if you don't like it. The goal is not to change or getting rid of it, even though sometimes when it does disappear, it is a bonus. But the goal is to accept and make peace with it, to let it be, even if we don't like it or don't want it to be there. I hope this video has brought value to you. If it did, give me a thumbs up, comment below, or share it with a friend you care about, because you're not just sharing a video, you're sharing content that could make a difference in people's lives. And remember to hit the subscribe button or the notification bell to be notified of my weekly learnings from the books I've read on relationship, business, and personal development. Thank you. Do check out these other books I've reviewed. I hope they'll bring more value to you and inspire you to bring out your best potential. If you like this, hit the subscribe button and be part of the journey to inspire learning. Leon here, wishing you well and see you in the next video.